Yeah, why not?
Hi everybody, thank you for joining us.
Broadband providers, BT came free that.
So as you join us on the call, if you can make sure that you mute yourselves and turn your cameras off, and we'll get started in just a minute. We're just waiting for a few more people to join us. So thank you for everybody that's joining us on the call. Just a reminder, we're going to be starting in about a minute's time, just waiting for a few more people to access from the lobby. If you can keep your microphones and cameras off at the moment, that would be great. Thank you for everyone that's joining. Just a reminder to have your microphones and cameras switched off, and we'll get started in just a moment.
Can I close that? It's in the way.
So just a reminder, if we can have microphones and cameras off, and we'll be starting soon. Okay, so it's just coming up for 5 past. So although we still have a few people coming through in the lobby, I think we'll get started. We've got lots of lovely information to cover today, so we want to make sure that we've got plenty of time. So thank you everybody for joining us and welcome. My name's Rio and I'm the AIM Hire Manager working across the Eastern Colleges Group. I'm joined this evening by colleagues again from the Eastern Colleges Group. So that's from West Suffolk College, 1 Sixth Form College and Abbygate Sixth Form College. And tonight we're going to be talking all things student finance. We're really pleased to be joined by Josie from Anglia Ruskin University, ARU. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping tips, please. So as this is a webinar style, you do have access to your cameras and microphones, but we would ask that you keep those turned off. So this event is being recorded. So if you can keep your microphones and cameras off. During the event, we will first of all hear from Josie from ARU, and then we'll be giving you a little bit of information about the support that's on offer at each of the individual colleges. After that, we'll then be doing our Q&A. So unfortunately, we have had a few technical issues with the Q&A function on this webinar. So if you do have a question at the end, it will be a case of unmuting yourself and asking the question. If you don't want to do that, then we'll also be providing all of our details so you can email us with any questions as well. I will remind you later, but just to say that obviously this is being recorded and this is a group event, so please don't ask any questions that contain personal information or details about your particular student. You can always email us about those, or we can give you a call at another time to discuss that. So as a reminder, microphones and cameras off, please. And then before I hand over, also just to let you know that we are recording this and it will be put onto our website. So if there's anything that you want to kind of hear again or go through in more detail, then you can watch that at a later date. And Josie will also kindly be sharing some useful student finance resources for you afterwards as well. So thank you, everybody. I will hand over to Josie.
Thank you, Rio. Thank you for coming, everybody. Hopefully in the next kind of 30 minutes, 20 minutes, you will get a better understanding of where you stand with student finance, what you have to do from a parent's point of view, and then also how we can help your student to access their student finance. So like Rio kindly introduced, my name's Josie. I work for the Schools and Colleges Engagement team at ARU. So that means I talk about anything to do with UCAS, personal statements, obviously student student finance today, degree apprenticeships, anything to do with your university journey pre actually getting into university, the Schools and Colleges engagement team is there to support. So I'm going to cover the tuition fee loan, the maintenance loan, how to actually apply, and some top tips for households of a student, additional support available monetary wise, and that's just not for ARU, that can be for any university, and then also the repayment structure, because I know again that can be quite a difficult thing to get your head around, admittedly, and it does change each academic year. So each cohort of students will have a very slightly different repayment plan. So it's good to remember which year you started university if you ever need to go back and Google what your repayment structure is going to be. So I'm going to talk about the year this September, so 2023 to 2024 cohort. So the maximum tuition fee loan that university can charge you for each of your academic years is £9,250, and that limit is set by the government, and that is costing per year to study. So each year it's that amount. Some universities might charge a little tiny bit less, but you do not get that extra money. The in-between money is not yours. Student Finance England, which is the company that provide the money and the loans, will pay the exact amount that your course is costing, and that money goes straight to the university. You will never have that in your student bank account. That money does not go to you. That money gets pinged right across to the university of your choice, and that is when you enroll physically at your university. So it might be the first day that you step onto site and you're moving into halls. You might have to physically enroll. Some universities send you an email and ask you to enroll early September time, but you have to physically not just accept your place on results day, you also have to enroll on your study, on your course, and that then gets pinged to Student Finance and they know where to send your first tuition fee loan. So that money goes to lots of different areas of the university. So state-of-the-art facilities need to be kept updated, especially if you're doing medicine degrees, biomed degrees, anything with lab space, but also sports degrees with those facilities, art facilities, tech, everything you could think of needs to be kept up to date and industry standard. So at ARU, our lab spaces, they're called the super labs, and that's because all the equipment inside it is industry standard, and it's expected that when you go out into the world, into the industry, you will already have a good grounding of knowledge on how to use certain pieces of equipment. It goes towards our library resources. So at the moment, our libraries are actually open 24 hours a day because it is assignment and assessment season, and we need to pay security to keep everybody safe, but also things like the electric and keeping all the journals up to date online, keeping all the digital prints up online to make sure we've got the most up to date textbooks that your student will need during their time at university. Specialist equipment, so music recording equipment is a really key one. Our drama studio spaces need to be kept updated, and we don't expect your student to come with specialist equipment. So we have a whole media services area, which is just cabinets and cabinets of cameras, microphones, stands, everything you could think of if you are a film or media student, and that goes for music equipment as well. We are super duper aware that you are not going to come with that equipment, so we have the facilities to be able to provide that and loan that out to you. We also need to pay our staff, and they are experts. A lot of them are still keeping in touch with the industry that they're from. So for instance, our criminal investigation or our policing degrees and criminology degrees, a lot of those academics have come from the police or from the crime scene investigation area. They are keeping in touch, and a lot of them are what's called associate lecturers. So that means they balance both an industry job, so they are still working in the industry, but then they come in and lecture and support students as well. That money also goes towards student services. So we cover our money advice team. So we do have a full money advice team on hand to talk to you at the moment if needs be, but also to support you through the whole 3 years. We have our disability and dyslexia team who support a whole range of students with anything to help them find university more accessible. We also have study skills. We have our employability team. We've got Team ARU, which is our sports team, and most universities will have these same services to ensure that your student is well supported at university. So it is provided by Student Finance England. Like I said, that is the company that provides these loans. It covers the full amount of your course and it's paid directly to the university. It's not means tested, which means every student is entitled to the full amount of their course. It does not matter how much your household income is. Everybody has the course paid for by Student Finance England if you would like it. It is applied for yearly, so you will need to apply for student finance 3 times for your undergrad. If you want to do a master's, you do apply for that again. So this time every year, between kind of middle of February to end of April, is the best time to apply for your student finance for the coming academic year. If you apply kind of after April going into May, student finance cannot guarantee that your application will be processed in time. There's a lot of checking they need to do on their end and processing it all and making sure they give you the right amount of money. So if you're applying kind of end of May, even early June, they cannot guarantee that your money will be ready for September. So a good thing to think about is by the end of April, have your student finance application complete and done. And there's no upfront fee to apply for this. You don't have to pay anything for your student loan until you actually start repaying it in a couple of years' time. So that's the tuition fee loan. That's quite nice and easy. All you have to do on the form is tick the fact that you would like the tuition fee loan. It does ask you, it's not assumed. So make sure you're reading those questions carefully and you do tick the box to say, I would like the tuition fee loan. So the maintenance loan, this is kind of the big bulky one. This is what's called a contribution towards your living costs. Student Finance England will never say it will cover everything. It is a contribution. And this is the one which is partly means tested based on your household income. And there's more information in a couple of slides as to what that means. And it is paid in 3 installments to a student bank account. It needs to be a student bank account. They won't pay it into parents or carers. They will have a check and make sure it is your student that's getting the money. So it's paid on your first day of term. Now, some universities have different start dates for their terms. Some have long ones, some have short terms. So sometimes your friends might get it before you or you might get it before them, but it's paid on the first day that your semester starts. So you get one kind of middle of September, early October, again, depending on what time you start. You get one in January and then you'll get one after Easter, so kind of end of April. Especially in your first year, if you are hoping to move out to halls, most universities will take your accommodation, like your rent money, as soon as your student loan drops into your account. So you don't even have a chance to spend it, because sometimes the budgeting, especially in your first year at university, might not be up to scratch. So to avoid you having to worry about rent, most universities will try and take your first load of rent for that semester out of your account when your student loan drops. So this is some figures that will apply to you. The extra weeks column at the end, those are extra weeks for if you are looking to do an NHS course. So that's any type of nursing, midwifery, paramedic science, the operational department practice, or social work. So sometimes your placement weeks are longer than a normal academic semester. So then student finance recognise that and then will give you that extra money per week to support you. So if you choose to live at home, so you want to commute to university, the maximum amount that student finance will give you is £8,400. The minimum amount that you will be entitled to is £3,597. And student finance have said if you earn £58,253,000, and if you earn that or anything above that, going into the millions, say, it doesn't matter how much above that you get, they will always give you that minimum amount of £3,500. Bear in mind, those numbers are split between the 3 semesters. So each semester you'll get a third of that. So then between a household income of 0 and a household income of £58,000, it is a sliding scale as to how much you would then get between the £3,500 and the £8,400. And they will take a lot of details into account. So if you still have other children or dependents at home under the age of 18, they will ask for their dates of birth. If you have other students at university, so you might be having to support 2 students at university, they will ask that and take that into account when calculating your money. If you have other adults dependent on you for other reasons, they will ask that. If your student qualifies for disabled student allowance, and I'll talk about that on a different slide, but that is also taken into account. So there is a lot of information that they take from you, and every student will get a very individual amount of money. It does go into the pounds and the pennies. You will get random pennies here and there. If you choose to live away from home, so if you are going to move out and you're going to go into halls, the money is slightly more due to the potential increase in rent that you're going to have to pay. Maximum amount there is just under 10 grand over the 3 semesters. The minimum amount is £4,500. And they said the household income threshold, so the top amount is £62,000, 311. So anyone whose household income is above that will always be eligible for that £4,500. And again, between a household income of 0 and a household income of £62,000, it is a sliding scale as to what amount of money you will get between the minimum amount and the maximum amount. If you are thinking of going to London, again, Student Finance take that into account, and they think that rent in London is extortionate, and it is manageable, absolutely, but they will try and help you a little bit and give you a little bit of extra money. So again, the figures there are a little bit more. The maximum amount you'd be entitled to is just over £13,000. The minimum amount is £6,300, and they've put the top threshold as £70,000. So that might be one you want to take a quick picture of, take a screenshot of, and this is for that academic year, like it says at the top, 2023 to 2024. The government do change these for each academic year, potentially based on inflation or based on cost of living. So no academic year will potentially be the same, but it is worth keeping in mind where the household threshold maximum number is and the maximum and minimum amount that you would be entitled to. So the maintenance loan is there to support, to cover accommodation costs, so your rent. It's to support with food, it's to support with bills. So especially in your 2nd and 3rd year, if you are moving out into the private sector and renting, your bills are most likely not to be included. And in your 1st year, if you're moving into halls, universities tend to include them. So it's something to remember and think about for your 2nd and 3rd year. As a student, you are potentially going to be having to buy your own clothes, your own toiletries, your cleaning products, pots and pans. Travel is a big one, especially with trains at the moment. So if your friendship group is scattering around, you'll still want to go and see them. So even traveling home for the weekend or traveling home for the different holidays, take that into account. Socialising is going to cost you money. Joining clubs and societies at university, there tends to be a little fee, especially for sports clubs. There tends to be a fee or like a sub that you have to pay. Gym membership, admittedly, our membership at AIU is dead cheap. It's not, I think it's about £12 a month. It really is cheap. And that's just to encourage people to be able to join the gym and enjoy their exercise. TV license is one you might have to factor in. So it's not included in most halls in your 1st year, your TV license. And that's because you each have your own locked door. So even if one of you had it on your corridor, it wouldn't cover you because you have a separate locked door and you can actually get separate post yourself, so it's classed as a separate space. So look into the rules of a TV license if you think that's something going to affect you. You might have to pay for a mobile phone contract unless parents and carers are still feeling very kind and willing to cover that. That is a very brief list of things that this money is supposed to support with, but these are the main things that will need to be covered during your time at university. So this is a very average monthly cost, and this was probably 3 months ago now when we put this together. So some of these things might be a little bit more expensive, i.e. the rent. But this is for 1 month. So where it says course materials, especially if you're on like a arty degree, so fine art, fashion, interior design, things where you're going to need materials, you have to keep that in mind. Where can you buy them? Shop around. Where's the cheapest thing for the good quality? Gifts and charity, family and friends. So people still have birthdays. You've still got to take birthdays into account, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas. Takeaways and eating out, transport's on there, health and well-being, so that could be your gym membership, for instance, or a swimming pool membership, and holidays and events. It could be you have got there's a big night out planned and you have to pay £5 to secure your place. So always little things to think about, and being able to recognize where your money is going is going to be really key for your time at university. Which leads us nicely into the budgeting section. So it's really clear to need to understand your needs versus your wants. And this is something I can imagine a lot of us still have a debate about in our heads quite often. What do I actually need to be able to live my life? What do I want? What's going to kind of make me feel a little bit better about myself? Saving now is a good one, especially if your student has a part-time job at the moment. Even if they start a little savings account now and pop in £10–15 a month just for the next 4 months, that's already money ready to spend on materials for university. It can be ready for Freshers Week, for instance. Buy-in now in readiness is a really good tip. So sometimes I don't know if you've seen, like IKEA tend to do big university student kits. They tend to come out August time, and although they can be a really good deal, sometimes you can shop around yourself and do it for a lot cheaper. What I would say, if you are absolutely set on university in September, if you see good deals out and about, if you're in Wilko's, if you're in Home Bargains, or if you're in John Lewis and you see a really nice set of pans or a really good set of cutlery and you're like, I'm just going to grab this now, put it in a box, put it under the bed ready for university, I would absolutely go for that, because it saves you then having to almost have this money panic end of August, start of September, where suddenly you are seemingly dropping quite a lot of money on stuff to get you to be able to live at university. So breaking that down and almost spreading the cost out will definitely help with that. Money health checks are really useful. Banks offer these. We offer these for current students, and it's just to help you understand where that money's going. Is it all going on takeaways? Is it all going on Tesco's over the road? Basically, where is your money going? Planning meals is a good one. If you end up being very close to people in your halls, you can pull together and buy bulk items and cook for each other. It's always useful to go to university with 5 really good recipes that you're solid with. 5 will just about get you through the week, and then you can learn from other people in your halls. But cooking is going to be a key skill. Student discounts is a big one. So there's lots of student discounts out there. So when you actually enroll as a student, you will get a unique reference number, a student number, which you can use. There's also a student discount card called Totem, which you can apply for, and that can be used everywhere as well. So that's kind of like an ID. I am definitely a student. Because some shops will not accept just your normal student ID. So for instance, an ARU ID card doesn't have your date of birth on. So some places might not accept it. So it's always worth getting the actual Totem card. It's £15 for 1 year or £25 for the 3 academic years. So definitely worth looking into. Uni days online is also a really good one to find discounts for. And it's also worth looking at a rail card. If you haven't already got a rail card, you can get up to 33% off rail travel, and at the moment it is expensive to go on the train, so any money off you can get, absolutely. And just reach out and ask for support. Like I said, ARU have our money advice team, and they are open to talk to prospective students, prospective parents, but also while you're there at university. Most people have had to deal with budgeting in their life, so it's worth reaching out or talking to your student and having that conversation about, this is probably a really good start to get to budgeting. Let's give it a go. Where do you think your money's going to go? So how to actually apply? You literally type into Google, apply for student finance, and it should be one of the top entries that come up. It is through a government website, so it is a gov.uk address, and the student needs to do their section first. So it will face you with a screen saying log into your account or create a new account, and your student will need to create a new account. They go through the process themselves. They have to put in details such as just your generic details, date of birth, where you live, that type of thing. It will ask for their national insurance number. So if they're not sure where that is, try and dig out the national insurance number. You will need proof of ID, and that could be a valid passport, a driving licence or a birth certificate. And the parents and guardians will get an email from Student Finance once your student has nominated you as the person in the household. So you will get your own email and then you can apply. Do not attempt to log in or make an account with Student Finance until you have had an email from them saying, okay, you've been nominated as a household income provider. Please, can you now fill out your section? What we do say is use a personal email address for students and parents. Students, their college email address will get shut down end of June, July, so they will not be able to access it at all. And as parents, it's always good to use a personal one as well. Again, work-wise, you never know what's going to happen with work emails potentially. Don't want to risk it. Use a personal email address. Nothing is paid until that student is confirmed as registered, like I mentioned earlier, until kind of September, October, when you actually enroll. No money gets changed or hands at all. It is a working document, so if your phone number changed, please just log in and change it. If you move house, if your student changes their top choice of university, make sure Student Finance know. It's always good to give them notice rather than suddenly enrolling at a random university which they were not aware of that you were thinking about, and then not giving them any time to kind of sort out the logistics side of it. So any changes to any information that you give them, make sure you log back in and you give them the update. So here is just some key points, and these are questions that come up quite regularly. I have taken this straight from the parent and guardian explanation page on the Student Finance government website. So this is all accessible to you as well. But if you are married, Student Finance will need your spouse's income, even if you don't live together, or if they're not the student's parents. So if you are a parent and your student lives with you, but you've got a partner and you're married, that's the household. You are the two providers in that household. So both of you will need to go on that application form. If you live with a partner, like I said, they will also need to tell Student Finance about their income, even if you weren't living together during the tax year that's being asked about. So say your partner moved in with you in the last 6 months, Student Finance will still want to know their income for the previous tax year, and I'll talk about that in a second. So if you are separated or divorced, your child should tell us who they live with the most with. So if it's a week on, week off, a 50-50 split, then both of you will need to go on the Student Finance form. If it's an unequal amount of time, the student will be asked to pick who is supporting their application. So if it's a case of they only contact or only see one parent every other weekend, for instance, that parent will not need to go on the form. It's the parent who they live with the majority of the time. And the household income doesn't include any income that the student has worked for themselves. So if they've got a part-time job and they earn their own money, that does not count. That's their own money because they are the student. It is the adults who are earning. And it's not just household earnings, it's also taken into account government benefits and things like that. And there are different sections through the form to ensure that you are able to give them the information they need. This bit tends to be the trickiest bit. And what I would say, if you have a unique situation at home, just give them a ring and just ask. They are used to parents and carers asking these difficult questions and wondering who goes on what form. So if you're a little bit stuck and you're not sure, just give them a ring. Another page full of lots of information, but this is a key one. So like I said, you will get an email within 24 hours of your student saying that you are going to support their application. You need to create an account if you haven't already got one. So if you have students already at university, you will already have an account. So you just log back into that account. When you register, you will need your national insurance number and then also your personal income for the previous tax year. And you can only give your details, so you can't double up an application. It is unique to you. So most households will have 2 applications for both parents, or a parent and a partner. 2 applications, 2 separate accounts need to be made. So the previous tax year for you will be the 2021-2022 tax year, and all the information that you will need will be on your P60. So if you need to badger your employer to get that for you, by all means do, because all the information you need will be on that. They might ask you to send evidence if the details you've submitted don't match up with the HMRC record. So it is all triple checked. So just make sure you are typing in those numbers correctly. You can submit an estimate of your financial details for this current tax year if you feel your household income from 2021-2022 is going to be higher than what you currently earn, but your household income has to be at least 15% lower than the previous tax year. So if you've had a significant change in your circumstances, for instance, and 2021-2022 is not a true reflection on your current situation, and your household income is at least 15% lower, then you can submit like an extra form. It's called the current year income form, and you just type that into student finance or type it into Google, and it will give you a guide on how to fulfill that. And then you download the application form and it talks you all through it. But there is that little extra section if for whatever reason your circumstances have changed significantly from 2021 2022. Once your part is complete, it can take up to 6 to 8 weeks to process. It is tending towards the 8 weeks, which is why the kind of guidance is get it in by the end of April, sorry, early May, if you are starting a course this coming September. So there are bursaries and scholarships available from most universities for monetary support. Bursaries and scholarships are not anything you have to pay back. So just check, type in the university you're interested in, and then type in the word bursary or type in the word scholarship and see what comes up. There is long course loans. So again, these are mainly for NHS courses where you are exceeding 30 weeks and 3 days of teaching or academic days. So that's worth checking if you are looking to do an NHS course. There is a disabled student allowance as well. This is not just for physical disabilities. This covers the whole range of disabilities, and that's applied through Student Finance England. So there will be a question as to whether you would like to apply for it or not, and you can just click yes. There is a parents learning allowance. So if you are a parent, there is extra support available to you based on your household income. But if you're studying and you are also a parent, there's money available, and there's also a childcare grant. So if you have children, there is grants available to support with up to 85% of your childcare costs. Again, that's means tested, but it's a very useful thing out there if you are eligible. So, for instance, our bursaries and scholarships, this is just a very brief overview. The ARU bursary is worth up to £300 per year. Students are eligible if your household income is £42,875 or less. That is applied automatically. We get that number from Student Finance, and ARU will just deposit up to £100 each semester into your account. There is the merit scholarship, which is based on grades. It's 3 Bs for A-level at the moment. If you get 3 Bs, you will get £1,000 taken off your tuition fee loan. I think for BTEC it's distinction merit, but give it a Google by all means if you think you're eligible for those. We've got lots of sports scholarships as well. If you're competing at a county level or national level or even international level, there are sports scholarships out there for you. So by all means, have a little look on the ARU website or the university that you are interested in attending. There is additional support from the NHS. So it's the Learning Support Fund, and the NHS have different pockets within that Learning Support Fund. It's if you're a healthcare student, and you have to be eligible for Student Finance already to be able to access it. So there is training grants available. There's a specialist subject payment depending on what subject you're going to do. There is support with getting to placement as well, and maybe you need a different accommodation because your placement is not within your current university setting, and there is again parental support. So if you are a parent or you have parental responsibility, there is extra money there. So if you are looking to apply for nursing, or you are currently applying, should I say, for nursing, midwifery, paramedic science, operational department practice, it's worth going on the NHS student website and just seeing again if you're eligible for extra pockets of money. The repayment of the loan. So again, this is something to remember, that you are the 2023-2024 cohort, because it does change. So your repayments will not start until you earn £25,000 a year before tax. So that's your annual salary. You will then repay 9% on those earnings above £25,000. So if you earn £30,000 a year, that's £5,000 above 25. So you will repay 9% of £5,000 split into the 12 months. Okay, so it's not just taken out in one go, it is split into the 12 months. The amount you pay back is based on what you earn. It's not what you owe. So it's literally based on your earnings. It doesn't matter how much student loan debt you've got sat there, it is purely based on what you earn. So if you don't earn £25,000 student loan, I'm not going to take any money from you. It doesn't affect your credit rating, and it's viewed as green debt or healthy debt. It won't affect you applying for a mortgage in the future. It won't affect you applying for finance on a car or anything like that. It is healthy debt. It's taken directly from your salary. So on your pay slips where it says how much tax you paid, how much national insurance you paid, it will then tell you how much you've paid on your student loan as well, so you can see it. You can overpay, so you can pop lots of money over there if you want to start paying it off in your own as well. By all means, there's no penalty to that, but it is cancelled after 40 years. So if you have not paid it back after 40 years, it will get scrapped. And it is no interest rate. It is RPI only at the moment. And student loan kind of keep you updated as to what's going on. You get a yearly review as to what your student loan debt looks like. And you don't start repaying it until the April after you graduate. So if you graduate on a lovely salary above £25,000, for instance, you will not pay any student loan back until the April after you graduate. So just to kind of show it figure wise, Emma at the bottom below earns just below £25,000, so she doesn't pay anything. And if for whatever reason your salary fluctuates at all, like above and below £25,000, student loan will just automatically stop your repayments or start your repayments. You do not have to tell them anything. So as you get higher up the salary, the higher your income becomes each month, and then the higher your student loan repayment comes. But in the kind of grand schemes and the percentages of how much you're repaying compared to how much you are getting per month, it is quite sustainable. So if you're looking at Reese on £32,000 a year, his income before tax each month is about £2,500, and his student loan repayment each month is £52. So that's I don't know, two takeaways in a month. Bearing in mind that money you have invested in 3 years of your education, 3 years towards your career progression, and hopefully 3 years of a really good time, and making connections and earning your employability skills. So although it does sound like you end up with a lot of student loan debt sat behind you, the repayment schedule or the repayment structure is very simplistic to keep up with. You do not have to tell them anything. Almost after you've done your third and final application to student finance for your 3rd academic year, it's very rare that you ever need to talk to them again, because it's all just done automatically. So I haven't spoke to student finance since I applied that 3rd and final year. It's been about 8 years now, and I get a letter in the post each year telling me how much student loan debt I've got left, and that just gets filed away. It's not thought about at all, and I just have a little look at my payslip each month and just see how much I'm paying. And again, it doesn't affect my mindset about actually what I've invested that money into. I invested into 3 years of my education, into my life, and into my employability. So that's kind of the end of my student finance presentation. There's some key points up there that you can by all means email. So answers@ARU, that's any question you have and you don't know where to go to, send it to answers@ARU. Or if you have a specific money advice question or money question, if you're hoping to come to ARU and you want to ask about disabled student allowance or different bursaries, what are you eligible for, by all means email our money advice team. They are brilliant. You can tweet us by all means, or just go on our website. It's super accessible and you should be able to find the information you need. Again, if you get stuck with student finance, just ring them. They are lovely and they will try and help you in whatever way they can. But thank you for listening, and I will take questions after the rest of the team have also said a little bit of information.
Thank you so much, Josie. That was brilliant. Lots of information there. So hopefully you all found that incredibly useful. I always do. So thank you so much for giving us all of those useful tips as well for budgeting. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go through each of the 3 colleges and just give you a bit of information about the support that students have received. Obviously, this event today is kind of more aimed towards parents and carers, but we want to give you some kind of tips you can give to your students about where they can go to get extra support with their student finance applications. So I am going to go first, and I am hopefully going to successfully be able to share my screen and show you some information about Abbey Gate Sixth Form College. So hopefully you can see that. So at Abbygate earlier this month, we did host an in-person student finance information evening. Across the group, we do try to mix things up with in-person and virtual so that we can reach as many parents and carers as possible. So we did host that earlier this month. In February, our Year 13 students had their next step sessions with their PPTs, and throughout those next step sessions in February, that's where they kind of covered money matters, and they were introduced to student finance and also received some information about setting up a bank account and budgeting, as well as pay slips as well. So they got lots of information in February. So if they haven't kind of spoken to you about that already, maybe encourage them to share what information they learned. When we sent the invitations out for this event, we did also share some useful links. So hopefully you've got access to those. And of course, we will be sharing resources after this event as well. So sometimes things in theory sound relatively simple, and then students open the application form and they get a bit stumped. So we are doing some application support drop-ins. So if they are finding a particular section a bit more difficult, or they just want to sit with someone and do it in front of them so they've got someone there to talk through as they do it, then we really recommend students coming to those sessions. So we've had one on the 17th of March and one on the 28th of March already. The uptake for those was quite low, so really just a bit of a plug to say that if students do want support, our next one will be on Monday the 24th of April, and if there is demand for it, then we'll run some additional sessions up until the May deadline as well. Finally, if students have any concerns about anything, so, you know, for example, you need a passport, your own bank account, household income, if students have any questions about any of the things they need, then they can absolutely contact their PPT in first instance. And then at Abbygate, we also have a careers advisor and myself as well available to support them. So that's the support that's available at Abbygate, and hopefully your students will kind of share with you the things that they've learned at those sessions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I will hopefully be passing over to my colleague Ellie.
Thanks, Rio. I'm going to now try and share my screen and hope that that has a success. So there we go. Hopefully everyone can see that now. So hello everybody. If I've not met you before from West Suffolk College, then my name is Ellie Nice. I'm the Progression to HE advisor at West Suffolk College. So I am the main point of contact for all of your young people at the college if they want help with anything to do with university. So at the minute, a lot of our level 3 year 2 groups, so hopefully that includes your young person, have been having class talks all across March. So they have been either delivered by myself or by colleagues. I know Josie has been amazing and been coming into college and delivering a lot of those talks as well. We've also had some visitors from ARU and other external universities. If they haven't had a talk, or if they are still a bit concerned and they do still want to talk things through, they can come and contact me. So I am here for one-to-one support for all students. I am available Monday to Friday, 8:30 till 4:30, every single day, and I'm based in the hashtag in the Gateway. As I said, I can be there for anything they want to do with higher education. So it's one-to-one support with student finance, whether that's providing them with information or just a bit of reassurance, kind of going over those repayments again, or how much they might be entitled to, showing them the student finance calculator, anything in relation to that. Again, as Rio mentioned, if they just want to sit with someone and make that application, just so they know they're ticking the right boxes, then that's what I'm here for as well. And then anything in between. So UCAS process, using extra, putting on additional choices when it comes to clearing, results day, accommodation. That's a big key thing at the minute. A lot of students worried about making their accommodation applications. So again, I can help with that. And if you've got someone who's potentially considering university, hasn't quite made that choice yet and just wants to talk through their options, I am here to help them. We've also got a Padlet across the 3 colleges. So ours is called What's Next for West Suffolk College. So all students need to do, there's posters around everywhere, but please feel free to also scan it as a parent or carer, is they scan the QR code, and that will take you to a Padlet page with lots more information about student finance, bursaries, progression options for our young people at the college. As well, just a reminder, we do have a careers advice service as well at West Suffolk College. So I am very much the university side of things. But if you've got a young person who's perhaps sitting on the fence, not quite sure what it is they want to do next, what their next step will look like, they might be considering apprenticeship or employment, anything like that, then they can contact our careers advisor, which is Maggie Noonan. So I've put both of our email addresses on the screen. Please do feel free to get in contact with us. So of course, we're here for the students, but we're also here to support you if you have any questions as parents and carers as well. So please feel free to get in contact. And that is everything from me. And now I believe I'm passing over to Gaynor, who is going to show you the support at Suffolk One.
Thanks, Ellie, and good evening, everybody. So I'm Gaynor Marsh, the Careers Coordinator. I'm here at 161 College. So as everybody else has done, I'm going to also share my screen with you this evening. And just to kind of let you know, with regards to the support that's been happening at 161 College, during National Careers Week, which was the week commencing the 6th of March, we had Essex University come in to all of your young people's progression sessions, which are our tutorial sessions run by our personal progress tutors. And so there were some really great finance sessions that were available for them, talking them through the whole process as Josie has highlighted this evening. But also there were some drop-ins available out in the atrium during National Careers Week, where they could actually speak to members of the Essex University team with any kind of like individual queries that they had. As Ellie mentioned, we are Act One, the careers team, that's myself and Louise O'Dwyer, and we are available for any sort of queries that they have with regards to progression in general, but we also work very closely with the personal progress tutor team, so your young people can make direct contact with us or can speak to their PPT about any of those queries that they potentially have. As Ellie mentioned, we also have our version of the Padlet, which is called What's on Wednesdays, which is emailed out to all students and staff every Wednesday. So if your young person hasn't accessed the Padlet, just kind of get them to check their emails for a Wednesday, and that's where they'll find the most up-to-date information across a whole wide range of our progression, including student finance. So I have this week sent out an email via InTouch to all parents and carers of our Year 13 and Level 4 in Art and Design students. And we're going to be running an in-person parental event after Easter. So that's on the Wednesday, the 19th of April, 5:30 until 7. And there is an option to actually kind of come along and be part of a presentation delivered by myself, the PPTs, and also the parent ambassadors, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about those in a moment as well. So there is a QR code actually on this slide at the moment. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up for that evening, it might not be for everybody, but it is that kind of in-person support, any kind of general queries that you might have. You can either come along, part of that presentation, or you can drop in and speak to the PPTs and parent ambassadors, but all the information is on that link. And I'm sure some of you will go away this evening and think, well, I'm not quite sure about any of the things that we've kind of talked about tonight, might want some clarification after that. So please do get in contact with my team via careers at Suffolk One as well. So the other part of what I am going through this evening is also with regards to the parent ambassadors. And that's something that is available to all of you across the Eastern Colleges group. And let me just share my screen with regards to that as well. So we work very closely with NECO, which is the Network for East Anglian Collaborative Outreach, and they have a provision called Take Your Place, which is a team that work in Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, supporting young people to understand and explore all the options that are available to them after school or college. So we have our higher education champion called Claire Palmer, and she supports all students across the Eastern Colleges group. So it is just the one member of staff that you have access to across all three. And she delivers talks, activities, events, all to engage and support young people to make informed decisions about their future pathways in each of the colleges. So NICO also provides a parent carer ambassador programme, and that's specifically to support parents and carers of young people progressing into higher education. And that also includes higher and degree apprenticeships as well. So they offer free and impartial information and practical advice, specifically to parents and carers. And they can also give your young person the support they need to make the informed decisions about their future. So much of the support is shaped by the insight provided by a team of the parent and carer ambassadors, and they have supported, they've got the knowledge and have actually supported their own children, or actually have access to other young people that they've supported into higher education, and they're really keen to share their experiences to support all families. So as part of the parent and carer ambassador, just to say that they have got some wonderful resources that you can access. So they have their own webpage, which includes some animated videos, a lowdown guide to higher education, and they're also able to develop your knowledge and understanding too. So you can get hold of them via a variety of the kind of sort of social media platforms. And we will, of course, share this information with you. And like I said, as part of our in-person event at 161 College, we will have those parent ambassadors available for you to speak to as well. So as you can see, lots of support for both yourselves and your young people going forward with those applications.
Thank you, Gaynor. So hopefully that gives you all something to kind of go home and have those conversations with your young people about, and maybe nudge them to engage with the support that is on offer. So we will now probably have about 5 to 10 minutes for any particular questions. Obviously, I do appreciate that you would have to unmute yourself. So if you do have a question, please feel free to raise your hand and you can unmute yourself and ask. But I appreciate if it's something more personal or about a really specific circumstance, then you might want to email us instead. So we will make sure everybody's email address is shared with the resources, including those emails addresses that Josie put up on the screen. And we'll also make sure that you have the contact details for Student Finance England. As Josie mentioned, they are a really, really helpful team. And if you've got a really specific situation, then they're probably the best people to give you kind of those direct answers. So as I say, we'll share those. But in the meantime, are there any questions that anybody has that they'd like to ask now? So Trevor Bygate, you were first with your hand up. So please feel free to unmute yourself and we'll try our best to answer your question.
Hello, I'm just my son Bodie. He's looking at going to Teesside Uni to do physiotherapy. Is physiotherapy fall under the NHS bracket for an NHS bursary?
So I'm not sure of the answer to that one. So does anyone in my team have the answer, or Josie, do you?
I can jump in unless Josie's going to. No, Josie, go for it. Sorry.
I was just going to say it really depends on if your university is twinned with the NHS. It should say on the course description for his course on the university website if it is an NHS one or if it isn't. So it should be a really simple answer if your son just goes back onto the website, checks his course, and it will either say it's with the NHS or it's not.
Cool, lovely, thank you.
No worries.
Thanks, Josie. Any other questions? So at the moment, I just have Trevor. So yes, Matt B.
Hello, struggling to get off my mute.
Oh no, don't worry, we've all been there.
Thanks for this. I had a question which I'd raised to Gaynor actually on email, and she recommended to come here. It was about my daughter. She's taken a gap year, and I was wondering if there are any notification services about when we need to apply for tuition loans next year that we can sign up to now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh, Josie, sorry, do you want to answer? Are you happy for me to? Okay, yeah, so absolutely you can. If you go onto the Student Finance website, they have a campaign for 2023 and 2024, but you can sign up to their newsletter. And once you sign up to their newsletter, you'll get alerts when all of the kind of new figures are announced for next year. Typically, applications for Student Finance do usually open in March. Student Finance like to play around a little bit with the dates. So this year they said it would be May, then it was February now, it's March. But if you're signed up to the newsletter, then you're going to get that information as soon as it's released. So yeah, definitely recommend getting signed up to that one.
Fantastic, thank you.
Just to add on that as well, Matt, at One, we also offer an ex-student service. So, you know, if you need or your young person needs any further support with their application for next year as part of that gap year, just contact me directly and I can kind of sort of give you the support that you need as a family to help you through that process. Okay.
That's great. Thank you very much. Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Gaynor. Brilliant. Do we have any other questions? Please feel free to use the raise your hand function. I'll just give it a second in case anyone's trying to get that. Sometimes it takes a minute to find it and click on it. So okay, so at the moment we haven't got any more questions coming through. So what I'll, oh, John Williams, your hand is up.
I may have missed it. Can you just clarify if my son wants to go to, he wants to do a university course at West Suffolk in September, we should be applying for loan now, is that right?
So applications for student finance are open now, and the deadline for that to receive your money in time is the 19th of May.
Okay, 19th of May. And we also have a daughter who's at university, so we already have an account and we can use that, is that right? To apply for my son?
Yeah, Josie, could I get you just to confirm that? But I think if you already have an account for one child, you can then use that for the other one as well.
Yes, of course. So when you signed up, you should have used obviously an email address, and you would have got something called your customer reference number. So that is unique to you. So if you've got 2 or more students at university, it will link the applications up as long as the same email address is put on both of those forms. So yeah, when you log back in, you will just log in. You won't need to create an account, and you only have to fill it in once, and then that will link to both of your young people's applications.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, student finance tried to make it kind of obvious if there's any outstanding tasks. So once that application has been linked, when you log into your account, you should get a little to-do list, and it will then show the new application that you need to go in to support. So yeah, exactly as Jason says, as long as that email is the same, then they should appear on your to-do list.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're just coming up to the end of our time now. So if you do have any further questions, as I said, we will share our email addresses with you all when we share the resources round. This recording will also be added to our website. On our careers websites across all 3 colleges, we also have recordings of previous events. So I think that's probably a moment to say, do check out any of our previous event recordings if you'd like to. I hope you found it useful. Josie, thank you so much for joining us and giving us that kind of university perspective and the really good kind of details that you gave about budgeting there and the actual application form itself. And if you have any further questions, then do please get in touch. But for now, we'll just say thank you for joining us, and we hope you found that useful. Thank you.